human.
To noon. I know, right?
Johnny Athletic, a studio stop 9 to noon en route to Timberwolves practice. The same Johnny Athletic you hear weekly, bumper to bumper with Barrero. He's also available via the X Machine, and you can follow him at JON via Twitter.
We're coming.
What's your Twitter handle again?
At JonKrawczynski.
Can you repeat the part of the stuff where you said all about the things?
Excellent seeing you. Is the family all squared away for Christmas?
Yeah, we still got, I'm a procrastinator, so I'm like right up against the deadline and sort of buying a few more gifts, but plans are in place, so we're going in the right direction here.
I need you to help me here because I purposely did not research it, not knowing I was eventually going to have you in studio. But like I have Finchy on the radio show weekly. All right, a couple of weeks ago, maybe after that Friday night Phoenix L, had him like a Monday or a Tuesday. Then the tweet machine was hitting me with his first interview after the game. And then I started to read up on it a little bit. And like Dane Moore was saying some things and you were saying some things about, just about what it takes to go to all the games.
Yeah.
What was that? It's gone.
Yeah.
But what was it?
Yeah. So it's just kind of a reflection of the new media realities of the day. And, forever and ever, we had at least one traveling media member at every game. A lot of times it was the Star Tribune. A lot of times it's me. Sometimes it's Dane Moore. And, really with how expensive it's gotten and the revenues have been falling, it's just hard to justify going to every single game. So that game in particular, there was none of us were there for that one. Wow. And so it's a little bit tough. There's financial realities for me. I have a young family that I'm just not going to be traveling every weekend for or every game. And
FanDuel at that time, wasn't showing the post-game press conferences.
FanDuel's really fallen off in terms of their post-game, abilities to deliver interviews and things like that. So there was a little bit of an information vacuum. Yeah. After a tough loss, you want people held to account. And so, I'm used to being able to make calls behind the scenes and do things and report. And I did the best I could, but there was not the definitive press conference. Hey, why did you do this? What happened here for that game? And there will be several more of those games going on the rest of the season. Yeah. With 41 road games, it's just really, really hard to justify doing all of that.
Completely understand it. Thanks for the vulnerability there and the honesty. What happened last night against Memphis?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, an offensive, anemic shot making type of a situation. I think that they played a Memphis team that was really banged up, and generally speaking, this team takes teams lightly that are shorthanded to the degree that Memphis was. But also, you watch that game and they missed 33 3-pointers. Julius Randle was 2 for 10 in the first quarter. They just really had a hard time generating good shots and then making the good ones that they did generate. And, it was really disappointing because those are the home games that you have to win, especially with Oklahoma City looming tomorrow night. But it's been a team PA all season long that has played sort of like it's bored with the regular season. And I think continues to be some of that against these teams that are either shorthanded or not very good. I would expect tomorrow night against OKC, they'll play a lot better and they'll play with a lot more energy, but it's been a little underwhelming that way.
Anthony didn't play last night. Post game, did you feel Julius Randle made it low key sound like they badly need a point guard or a defined floor general? Because I did.
Yeah, I think that definitely this roster, one of the shortcomings right now is floor general, quarterback, however you want to say it, or just even one more person who can create off of the dribble some way, somehow. Mike Conley he's been out lately, but he's also old and diminished in his abilities to do that. Rob Dillingham, unfortunately, has not shown that he is ready for prime time with a team that wants to contend in the Western Conference, and so he has not been able to do it. Bones Highland has had some moments, but he is a career bench guy, and so he has, I think, some limitations as well. And so I think it's going to be on Tim Connolly to really look hard at seeing if there is another either point guard or playmaker they can acquire at the trade deadline, provided you don't see some sort of real explosion from Bones or Rob Dillingham, over the next month or so.
Is Finchy cracking a tad? And the reason I bring it up is he just melted on a ref last night and seemed very, very frustrated. We both know Chris very well. He's not an F-bomb kind of guy. Maybe he can be behind the scenes more with you. I mean, you're around him more than me. I mean, he just lost it last night. Holy cow.
Yeah, that felt to me like frustration in the way that the game was going. But I will say, PA, that, knowing Chris as well as I have for as long as I have, one of his sort of quibbles is he has very little patience for refereeing. And he is very he makes his voice heard all game long with calls that he thinks have been missed, with the way that the officiating with the way the game that has been officiated. And I don't think that was a particularly good look for him at the end of that game, because certainly there were some bad calls, but this team did not lose because of officiating last night. And I think that was him just airing his grievances with his team through the officials. But that has been a career-long thing for Finchy. He really does get after the officials from the opening tip to the end of it. And I don't know that a lot of the officials really appreciate that very much.
More on the current state of the Wolves momentarily, but we mentioned it earlier. News popped. I believe it was Shams Charania. KG, Kevin Garnett, is back in the mix with the Minnesota Timberwolves. What do you know about it? What can you share? What do you think?
Yeah, I think over the course of the next day or two, there's going to be really more specifics laid out about exactly what this is. I think right now what's been reported is that he is coming back to the team in sort of an off-court role. This is not a, basketball operations department type of a thing, but he's going to be involved in kind of community events, fan engagement. He's going to do content for the team on social media and I think on their website and things like that. And as part of all of that, he's going to have his jersey retired eventually now. And he and Glenn Taylor did not get along at all. And so that was the reason that 21 has not been hanging in the rafters. But Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez really made it a priority once they took over to kind of try and build a bridge there and broker a truce. And it has now happened, and I think that's the best thing for all involved. Fans are going to be over the moon about this. And, it was a really ut dispute for a very long time between the icon of this franchise and the Timberwolves, and to have that kind of put under the bridge now is just great news.
Well, is it as much a truce, or is it a little bit just, well, Glenn's gone, so now we can resume those sorts of conversations? I mean, A-Rod and Lowry certainly don't have the connection to KG that Glenn did. So now it's like, well, Glenn's gone. Now we can be friends again.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, certainly that's the big card to play, was that once Glenn Taylor was gone, then KG was going to be able to let go of whatever grudge that he was holding against the Timberwolves. But I do think also it took a lot of engagement from Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez and their staff to just get to know KG and kind of get to know the people around him and try and just build a little bit of trust there as well, that they were going to be different, that that this was not kind of an extension of Glenn Taylor, but a new way of doing things. And so it took a long time. I mean, Lowry and Rodriguez have been involved since 2021, and I think it only really picked up steam and this summer after all of the closing of the sale and everything. And so certainly Glenn Taylor being gone, big, the biggest part of it, but also you got to give Lowry and A-Rod their props for being able to cultivate at least some sort of relationship to get it going in the right direction.
Johnny Athletic, Jon Krawczynski, The Athletic, theathletic.com, covers the Minnesota Timberwolves in second to none fashion. And this Saturday at 4 o'clock, there is a Jon Krawczynski show live. Chris Finch is going to be a guest. Bones Highland is going to be a guest. Where is it, and what can people expect?
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's 4 p.m. in Northeast Minneapolis. Head Flyer Brewing is the place. We've done a bunch of live shows there over the years.
That's like a Wolves bar, right?
It's pretty much a Wolves bar. Yeah, we've been able to turn it into that with a relationship with the podcast. And it's become a really cool event, and really cool of Chris Finch to come in the middle of a season and do this. And if you go to this show, you will see 30 minutes with Chris Finch. You will see 30 minutes with Bones Highland. I will be doing some Q&A with the fans, and we'll give away some tickets and things. But also, if we're trying to help the community as well. So if you bring some food items to donate to Second Harvest Heartland, you'll get buy one get one on your beer purchases at Head Flyer for the event. So Chris Finch, as you know, is deeply involved in Second Harvest Heartland, and I have a collaboration of a beer with Head Flyer. That proceeds of that go to Second Harvest Heartland, and so now we're just doing a big event with Chris Finch and Bones starting at 4 p.m. on Saturday, so hope everyone can make it.
At Head Flyer Brewing?
Head Flyer Brewing in Northeast Minneapolis, just outside of kind of the Northeast area, right off of 35W and Hennepin Avenue.
Yeah, so 4 o'clock is when it begins. We got Johnny Athletic there. Here, per the Twitter page, bring an item to donate, get a buy one, get one beer. The food shelf, Second Harvest Heartland, asks for sugar, cooking oils, ready-to-eat soups, laundry soaps, flour, spices, personal hygiene items, toilet paper, toothbrush, and stuff like that. All items donated to Good Works Food Shelf in Northeast Minneapolis, courtesy of Second Harvest Heartland. That's fantastic. 4 o'clock Saturday. 4 o'clock Saturday. Stop by the Jon Krawczynski show. And via his X page, you can learn more about that philanthropic endeavor. Now, back to the Timberwolves of now. OKC here tomorrow night. Lost to Memphis last night. The kids, the bench guys, I watched most of the game. Pretty good in the first half, in my opinion. Not so much in the second. I mean, how often have you seen that with Clark and Shannon Jr. and Dillingham and the whole thing?
Yeah, that's been the thing. I mean, I think that Chris Finch has heard some pressure to try and got to play the young guys more. You got to play the young guys more, but it has been so uneven so far. And you're right. I mean, the first shift, especially for Dillingham and Shannon, they were doing good things. Offensively, the ball was moving. They were getting to the basket. They were scoring. And then in the second half, it just was a disastrous stint for those two. And it was one of the areas of the game that just really slipped away. The Wolves led by 9 when they came in, and they were trailing by 5 by the time the shift was over. And so the inability to rely on any consistency from those guys has been real detrimental to the overall depth of this team. I think when the season started, you thought for sure Terrence Shannon Jr. was going to be a reliable bench scorer, give you some pop consistently. And Dillingham, you figured, still learning, but yeah, maybe there's going to be plenty of games where he gives you 12 points in 18 minutes and really is a plus that way. And it just has not yet materialized. And, that just puts so much pressure on Naz Reid to score at a high level on that second unit. Cause if they don't get bench scoring, then you're really, really leaning on those starters a lot. And it really came back to bite them last night. They were outscored 44-29 by the Grizzlies bench, and the Grizzlies bench has no one right now. Right. And that's not a good look.
Jon Krawczynski, Johnny Athletic, Timberwolves conversation. Do you believe they will trade for a point guard? And if so, who would they possibly make available?
So I do think that they are looking hard at doing it. The question becomes, like to your point, who is it? Because I don't think that the LaMelo Ball, Trae Young, Ja Morant guys, the super expensive and a little bit value diminished guys are options right now for them, just where they're at with the salary cap and all of those things. But then you're looking for guys like, Kobe White or a TJ McConnell or a Dennis Schroeder or somebody like that, but they're hard to get. They're not easy to trade for. You'd probably have to give up like a Dante DiVincenzo for him, and he's playing actually really well right now. So there's not an obvious answer for the problem right now, but I think Tim Connolly is one of the most aggressive general managers out there. And so I think that if things continue as they are right now, they will eventually pull the trigger on some move for a point guard, but it may take a little while yet.
Well, yeah, taking a little while. That's where I was going to go with this. Earlier, you just kind of mentioned at the deadline and just people look in time frames. Deadline's still a fair amount off. Just kind of the idea where do you feel like if they're going to do something that it has to be at the 11th hour because of the difficulty in negotiating? Or, we just watched how the Wild, just under the cover of darkness, pulling a Quinn Hughes, not saying it would be that caliber of player, but like this could happen at any time. I just feel when you see the stickiness, as you guys were talking about, the isolation manner in which the offense devolves into on a nightly basis, this just feels that there should be some urgency in rectifying that if they truly believe that the point guard's part of that conversation and a solution.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, though, Nordo, because there is urgency, sure, but at the same time, they're 17-10. They're not 10-17. And so one thing we have seen from Chris Finch in particular, but I think Tim Connolly as well, is that they typically show more patience to let things unfold throughout a regular season than the fan would. Every fan wants Finch fired and wants a point guard acquired like right now. And that's just not the way that this organization operates. We saw last year, I mean, they are miles ahead of where they were in the standings last year at this time because they just stuck with it and they didn't panic and they ended up getting to playing their best basketball in April and May, and they got to the Western Conference Finals. And I do believe that there is belief within the organization that they can follow a similar path, and that with the way that they have started, they don't have to panic right now because they're winning enough to try and give these other guys more time to figure it out. But there's no question that if we get to, the turn of the year and into the new year and things are still sort of just kind of treading water, that, I do think that's when you really start to see them be aggressive and go look for someone and try and just upgrade the roster and balance it out a little bit more.
Hey, a week ago, Nordo sent me the tweet from Legion Hoops about Kobe White. And I'm like, all right, I mean, it's Legion Hoops. What's that? And then I looked at it, it's like 1 million followers. I'm like, hey. So, and I followed, some of your conversation after. But I think that's an interesting name. Not only because of what he makes, but Chris brought him into the league when he was with New Orleans. Chris is a fan, as you probably know. But he's just, is it Diasumo? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got Diasumo who's hurt, bench guy. Herder is a tweener. Then you got, of course, Josh Giddey, who's going off he's phenomenal with the Bulls. And Trey Jones, Apple Valley's Trey Jones. I mean, you just have a log jam there of guards. So, I mean, do you put any credence in the Kobe White talk?
I do. I think there's genuine interest there. There's two things that you have to factor in. One is he's had calf stuff all through the first 2 months of the season, and so that's something to watch. Like, is he fully healthy? Yep. Secondly, he is in the final year of his deal, so if you're going to give up anything of value for him, you're going to want to have some kind of assurances that you can hold on to him for the long term, and that's a little complicated. But when you look at Kobe White, I think that his shooting, I think that his ball handling would be a help to this team. He is also, though, not a classic point guard. Right. He is a little closer to the DiVincenzo ilk of combo guard, shooter, more than a natural playmaker. So
I think he was a natural playmaker at North Carolina. He was a true point. I see what you're saying with Dante, but anyway,
he is more of a ball handler than Dante. Yes. I will say that. Yes,
but his defense is not in Dante's class.
Yes, is not as good. So, and Dante's still under contract at a great number for the next 2 years. So you have to factor all of that in. Wow. But I do think that yes, when they have not had any real talks with the Bulls yet, but if they do decide to really put things in motion and say we got to go get someone, I think Kobe White will be high on their list.
Why is McDaniels so inconsistent with his offense?
It's a lot of it, PA, is that he goes and fits and starts with not being involved enough. And I do think this is one of the things where Chris Finch was talking about last night of needing to call more plays. He's a guy that you need to call plays for and say, get the ball to Jaden now and let him go to work. And so a lot of times, I think last night, Julius got a little too ISO heavy and wanting to go at Jaren Jackson. That didn't work. And so a lot of the times when Jaden McDaniels is quiet, it's because he is not getting the ball in places where he can do damage. And as the third wheel on most nights, he's not going to be the ultra assertive, I'm going to grab it and go type of a guy. That's just not his mentality. But the way that he has taken a huge step forward in his creation and his scoring ability, I think he needs to be more assertive, but I think the Wolves also have to do a better job of just being intentional about, we need to get Jaden some shots. He had 3 shots at halftime last night. That's not good enough.
If I'm the Bulls and it is with DiVincenzo at 12 or whatever and Kobe around 11, I mean, you put DiVincenzo with Giddey?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would do that in a minute if I'm Chicago. And Kobe can shoot. I mean, I would take Kobe White every bit as much as DiVincenzo with the 3 game. Like we said, he's probably better off the bounce. Defense isn't in Dante's class. But I mean, if the Bulls initiate that and make it DiVincenzo, I would understand why, wouldn't you?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that especially they'll be operating knowing that the Wolves have a real need for that kind of a player and that they have real expectations of contending in the Western Conference. And if things are not going according to plan, then the leverage is a little bit more on the Bulls side in that scenario. And so they can make big asks. The Wolves can say no. They could say, hey, how about Shannon and, this guy and a second round pick and see if, but there will be negotiation, but I would expect that the Bulls would start very high and then try and work down from there.
Johnny has to go here in a minute for Wolves practice, so 1 or 2 more. Who are the 4 best? Somebody asked me this yesterday. Who are the 4 best teams in the West? OKC, Denver,
Houston.
Okay, you go Houston?
Yeah, I think so.
What do you do with the Lakers?
Yeah, I mean, they've been playing well. I have some doubts about their ability to defend in the playoffs and to really stay healthy. So right now, I would say probably the Lakers, just with the way that they are playing right now. But I think that the door is open at 4 for the Timberwolves if they're able to put something together, and just get going and move up there, because I think that the Lakers are incredible with Luka and Reeves and LeBron as clutch time scorers and all that, but I just think that defense eventually is going to be a little more of an issue. So I'm not quite sold on them, but I can't deny the performance to this point from that group.
Şengün.
Yeah, he's been great.
He's top 5, 6, 7 in the NBA, isn't he? Has he ascended that high?
I don't know if he's that high, but
Top
he's certainly
10?
top 10,
Yeah.
top 10 to 12, somewhere in there, just the way that he is playing. I mean, he's so physical, so crafty. And he's actually really improved from a defensive standpoint as well. That was you could just target him in the past, and he's holding his ground a little bit better.
Wow.
But those Rockets, man, they are big, strong, and nasty. They rebound everything, and they're a load to handle. And so, I mean, you look at the whole landscape, it's OKC, Denver, Houston, and then I would say maybe
San Antonio.
Yeah, and then maybe it's Detroit and the Knicks are after the 3 or 4 in the West. That's how good the top of the West is right now.
Lastly, the OKC, the champs, the Thunder are at Target Center tomorrow night. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Minnesota could use a signature win against those guys, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
How do you get it?
I mean,
and do you think Anthony will play?
I lean toward Anthony Edwards playing tomorrow night. I think he's missed 3 games now, but I think he's going to be ready to go for that game. What we have seen from this team so far is that they have played way too many bad teams, and they just have not had eye of the tiger. And I think tomorrow night they will come out ready to go. I would argue that maybe one of their 2 best games they've played all season. This was the game they lost in OKC right before Thanksgiving. They played great. They just kind of faded down the stretch, but they need to be fearful of their opponent, and they need to be worried about getting embarrassed, and they will be tomorrow night. And so, if Edwards isn't too rusty, I think they can go in and really, have a puncher's chance.
You're awesome, man. And Saturday, 4:00, where is it again?
At Head Flyer Brewing in Northeast Minneapolis. Chris Finch, Bones Highland, myself, all benefiting Second Harvest Heartland.
It's the Jon Krawczynski Show live, and follow his Twitter feed to learn more. Appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you, PA.
Johnny Athletic, some fantasy football with ScottFish next.
Fan.
All right, we have a covenant cleanup, and I'm glad we do. Nordo pointed it out to me between segments. Not exactly sure how I came up with Kobe White being in New Orleans with Finchie when Kobe White never was in New Orleans. But Chris has talked about Kobe White with yours truly on the radio several times when I refer to him as the kid with the hair. And he lights up the Timberwolves for 30 some odd points a game. Covenant Cleanup made a mistake with a Johnny Athletic. That's a high level mistake with a basketball snob like that. The teamwork between the producer and yours truly led to the Covenant Cleanup. So that's the Covenant Cleanup provided by Right. It's 11:36 in the Love Covenant. A couple of segments to go. And this one has a fantasy bent. Generally, it would be Take Me to Church on Thursdays, but the timing didn't work out today. So his cohort, ScottFish, with fantasycares.org, he joins for a truncated segment to discuss some pertinent things with fantasy football. Learn more about Scott at ScottFish24. I'm just going to ask one question and get out of the way because Nordo is in the final three of the ballyhooed and vaunted Church League. And he has a great chance to win, and he has some significant questions for you, Scott. So with tonight, with the Rams in Seattle, is that a fantasy feast, or do you expect a lower scoring game? And good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I expect it to be a decent game. I expect it to be probably in the mid to high 40s combined. So we'll see some scores out of a lot of the players here. Devontae Adams. Chances of him playing are slim with that hamstring and knee, so they're going to have to figure out many more ways to get Puka involved. What players is he looking at that he's looking for in that game? It should be okay though.
Down with that, Nordo.
Well, yeah, you think about it, whether it's Smith and Jigba, who we saw shut down against the Vikings. I mean, that's a nightmare scenario for somebody in a big spot when suddenly Jared Verse and company ruined Darnold's night, and your season and your life is relying on Smith and Jigba to get you 15, 20 points. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Smith and Jigba is not one I'm worried about in this one. It did happen in that one, but this is a defense that Amon-Ra just torched from the slot last week.
Yeah.
JSN, like Amon-Ra, plays mostly from the slot. The Rams are bottom 6 in receptions and yards allowed to wide receivers. If you can get the ball off quick against them, against that pass rush, you can hit them, and JSN's been good at that all year.
So Rashee Rice, Chiefs wide receiver. There's been a lot of conversation with him, not just because of the injury to Patrick Mahomes, but he's taken a couple of hits in games, and so he's become a meme in some respects. And people wondering, can he truly be a number one? Can he carry a team the way that a Justin Jefferson in typical circumstances would, or a Jamar Chase, et cetera? But now that Mahomes is gone, you got Gardner Minshew throwing to him. What do you think of Rashee and really those playmakers, Xavier Worthy you could talk about, or even the aging Travis Kelce? But just from a fantasy standpoint, a lot of people have Rashee Rice in their lineups and they're worried.
Yeah, I would be really worried. He came in on Monday with the concussion protocol. He has not practiced this week. The data tells you that the overwhelmingly vast majority of players that come in Monday with concussion protocol don't play the following week. You got Tyquan Thornton in concussion protocol. You have Marquise Brown missing time with personal reasons. I think this is you've heard the phrase, a rising tide raises all boats. This might be a sinking boat sinks all the players type of situation where almost everyone goes down except for Kelce, because we saw a year ago, Gardner Minshew with the Raiders just peppered the crap out of Brock Bowers to the tune of 75 yards, 8.5 targets per game. Kelce might be the only true beneficiary in that passing game here.
Yeah, and not to mention now that they're out of the playoffs, I mean, the idea of kind of pushing forward or really motivated, how motivated are the Chiefs to start some of those guys? Now, continuing down the road here, some other interesting things. How many people in guillotine leagues or high-end fantasy playoff leagues have Josh Allen? And I assume it's a bunch. And Josh Allen's looking at the Browns on the shores of Lake Erie this weekend. What do you think about that Bills offense against Myles Garrett and Stefanski's defense?
Yeah, so you just can never bench Josh Allen.
Yeah.
It's a very tough matchup, absolutely. But Josh Allen has been the number 1 or number 2 fantasy quarterback for 6 years in a row at this point. It is a spot where it's, the Cleveland Browns are 4th toughest against quarterbacks, but they've also allowed some decent games to better quarterbacks this year. We saw a few of those earlier in the year. So I'm not exactly too worried. Lamar Jackson, a fellow running quarterback, had 230 plus yards and 4 scores. You just can't bench Josh Allen in any way. I do think this one lays on the ground a whole lot more. I think we'll see a lot of James Cook, as it's a defense that's allowed an absolute ton to running backs. DeAndre Swift had 98 and 2 scores last week. Tony Pollard had 161 and 2 scores the week before. So the Browns are letting it loose, letting up a lot of stuff on the ground. I can see them getting ahead, Josh Allen not needing to pass, and it being more of a James Cook game. So I understand a slight trepidation, but I still have Josh Allen as the top 6 or so quarterback this week.
Scott, winning fantasy championships, not that I would know. I've only won one in my life. But nevertheless, you want to attack bad defenses. Cincinnati's giving up big-time chunks right now. You got Jalen Waddle, but you don't have Tua, but that may be okay. So, how do you handle Waddle against the Bengals?
Ooh.
Yeah, I think you just got to keep plugging them in. You have to hope Quinn Evers gets it to him. Really, there's only 2 options in that offense in the passing game. I guess 3 if you are talking Achane. Darren Waller has just been a red zone monster. Absolutely, he's a guy I really love as a kind of a sleeper tight end this week. But Jalen Waddle is still getting a ridiculous amount of targets. He's getting 6, 7, 7, 7. If maybe that was a little for the kids there, 6, 7. But he's still getting 6 or 7 targets. With that kind of volume, you got to plug him in your flex. But if you have better options, I have no problem just avoiding the Quinn Evers-led offense.
Last one for you here. Really, this time of year, you know the reason you don't have the fantasy championships on a week 18 in this case typically would be, well, the XYZ team's got a first round bye around the corner. They're going to chill and they're going to bench their big timers for the postseason. But sometimes you have high enders that are just on hideous teams. Now, you know, whether it's Brock Bowers or you just think about teams that aren't in the mix, but they have players that you have relied upon week after week after week. Are there players you potentially are frustrated or worried about falling short because their team's just awful? They're mailing it in. We got injuries on the O-line, so we're just going to run the thing all day. What do you think about that?
So I'm among team. I don't truly believe teams or players, just stop playing when it comes to week 16, week 17, et cetera. I believe they're playing for contracts. We got a lot of players playing for bonuses. They want starting jobs next year. Teams want to win. They're competitors. I think there are some instances of that, but for the most part, I just assume players are going out there and they're trying to compete. Now it's a different story if you have a slight injury and the team wants to not risk it or the player wants to not risk it. Or if it's a team that, as you mentioned, is already in the playoffs and the game means nothing and they want to stay healthy for the playoffs. Those scenarios absolutely make sense. But outside of that, I'm not too worried about the bad teams benching their star players at the end of the year or taking them out.
Thanks for the pinch hit. Thank you for fantasycares.org. We're back at it tomorrow. Buffalo Wild Wings, Apple Valley. Appreciate you, Scott.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate you too.
ScottFish, fantasycares.org. Final segment.
Yeah. I can't wait until tomorrow. 'Cause tomorrow might very well be too late.
And tomorrow is the Friday football feast.
I can't wait until tomorrow.
Buffalo Wild Wings, Apple Valley. Yours truly, Nordo, and Alec Lewis from The Athletic, who joins us now. Hello, Alec. How are things?
I'm good, Paul. You just caught me in the middle of brushing my teeth. I'm ready to get to the facility.
And the feast tomorrow in Apple Valley, the banker, Tim Siegley with the First Resource Bank, he'll be there. So that's going to be exciting. Do you know, since fantasycares.org jumped into this thing, you for the Kyrie Jackson Foundation, Nordo, Feed My Starving Children, me, Second Harvest Heartland, 2 consecutive weeks, none of us have generated any fantasy points. What do you have to say for yourself about that?
Yeah, ScottFish knew what he was doing. He's like, these guys are actually good at this, and I'm going to come in here and make sure that they slow their roll and take my job. No, it's been brutal. I'm not going to lie. Jacoby Myers, I mean, he gets 700 targets a game, but he can't get in the end zone. It's quite frustrating. But I'm going to respond this week. I have full confidence that I will be able to give my best when my best is required.
So running backs tomorrow, you cannot select James Cook, Christian McCaffrey, or Etienne. So just keep that in mind as you're preparing for running back, so we can make these charities some money. And we can't.
Well, I'll say this.
Yeah.
I'll say this, not to cut you off, but the Giants have the worst run defense in the NFL by far, not even remotely close. So, I mean, it might be a challenge, but I mean, I guess I'm tipping you guys off, or maybe I'm playing a game here, but Jordan Mason, Aaron Jones, I mean, this should be the ultimate spot on Sunday for them.
Can't wait to see you at Buffalo Wild Wings, Apple Valley tomorrow. We, per usual, we'll have a funky good time. Thank you, Alec.
Always. See you guys soon.
Yep, that's Alec Lewis with The Athletic, theathletic.com. One of the co-hosts for the Friday Football. Apple Valley gets the money tomorrow. And on behalf of Alec, Nordo, and yours truly, can't wait to see you. Thank you very much for listening to 9 to Noon. The program is around the corner at FM 100.3 KFAN. God bless you and your families, and have a wonderful day. Bye.
Scratching and surviving. Good time. Hanging in a jar. Good time. Ain't we lucky we got 'em? Good time.
If it's good news or money, leave a message.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.